Hello, this is Jordan with Andalusia Knits, and today we are taking a deep dive into my yarn stash. I have a bin where I keep my yarn in, and while I think it's a pretty respectable, modest, reasonable storage space, it is completely bursting at the seams at this point. I can't even keep all the yarn that I have in it, much less add any new yarn to it. So I desperately need to get into that thing and take a look at what I've got and hopefully find some things that I can toss or better, at least better organized to make some extra space in this thing. So I thought we would start by taking a look at my storage bin, and then I'll unpack everything and get it out laid out on my bed, and then I'll go through yarn by yarn talking about the different brands and styles I have here and whether I am going to keep it around or if it is time for it to hit the road. So I've got a lot of cleaning and organizing to do today, so let's get started. So here is where the magic happens. This is the hollow ottoman that I keep all of my yarn in. And as you can tell, it is pretty worse for wear on the outside. I think this thing is probably maybe like 8, 9, 10 years old at this point. My boyfriend actually bought this before we were together, so it predates me. But as crappy as it looks on the outside, I think that could probably be fixed up pretty easily with a nice reupholstery job. And as sad as it looks from this perspective, I really love how reinforced and sturdy and secure and safe everything feels on the inside. And I will pop off the top to show you that. It's actually it's a wooden box that is completely lined with metal, and so with a great seal on top. And so I feel very confident in its ability to protect my yarn from pests and the elements and everything else. So now I have removed the lid from the ottoman and taken out all the yarn so you can get a peek inside. And it's not super exciting. Like I said, it is just sheet metal that has lined this box and then been screwed onto it. But this, coupled with the really nice seal that this ottoman gets, it makes me feel very confident in its ability to protect my yarn. And then we'll move over to the lid, and it's the same thing, just more sheet metal lining the whole thing. Very metallic, very shiny, and hopefully very safe for my yarn. But yeah, that's the ottoman tour. Not exciting stuff, but there it is. Alrighty, so now I would like to go through everything that I have just unpacked and take a look at it and see if I can remember what it is and see if I want to keep this or if I possibly want to donate it or get rid of it. And I have arranged all of the yarns vaguely, basically from lightest weight to heaviest weight, and tried to group things as logically as possible. But I got a lot of yarn to talk about, so let's just get started and start with the lace weight yarns. And the first one I've got here is this Findley from Juniper Moon Farms. And as you can see, I have a project sort of started on it. A few months ago, I attempted Kieran Foley's pattern High Seas. And if you're not familiar with Kieran Foley, he is a very skilled lace knitwear designer, and all of his patterns are incredibly difficult. But High Seas, all of his patterns are objectively difficult, but High Seas, out of all of them, is not a particularly hard one. But I had to restart this thing 3 or 4 times before I gave up on it. I couldn't even get a full 10 rows into it, and I was like, I am not gonna run a lifeline before 10 rows, and I just could not make it to that 10 row point. So I was like, all right, this pattern is cursed, or I'm cursed, or this yarn is cursed. I'm just gonna put it away for a while and come back to it. But I love this yarn. It is a silk merino blend. It's very kind of shiny and soft, and like every yarn that I have fallen in love with, it is now discontinued, so I probably will not get any more of this, but I do have enough for some sort of nice like lace shawl project. Don't know if I'm going to go back to the Kieran Foley, but yeah, I really like this yarn. Definitely keeping it, and will definitely be using it for something in the future. And then next up we have another lace weight, and this the tag I think is in German. It says Schoppel lace flower. I believe this is from the same people that do the Zauber balls, the sock yarn balls, but this is a lace weight sort of gradient dyed. And this is one where I bought it, lace weight yarn. I will buy it without a project in mind sometimes, because there's always some, like, you can always find a shawl or some sort of nice lace weight project without having something specific in mind when you go to buy. And so yeah, I was like, I'll find a shawl or some sort of pattern for this, and I'm sure I will. I haven't yet. This is another one, like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, but it's definitely staying in the mix. I love this color change gradient, and I would love to see it like in real life knit up on an actual pattern. So another lace weight that I definitely am keeping. Ooh, okay, so now we have the first one that I'm probably not going to keep, and this is Knitting for Olive mohair. I have a couple balls of this, and this was my first and only experience with mohair. I don't think there's anything wrong with like the Knitting for Olive brand or anything like that, but I definitely am not a mohair person at all. I tried this in a pair of socks. I hated the way it looked. I hated the way it felt, like holding it double. I don't like the fuzziness. I tend to run hot, and so an insulating yarn like this, I definitely have to be careful with. And yeah, mohair is just probably not for me, at least in this form, like in this like lace weight strand form that you hold double with other yarns. So this one is probably I'm gonna have to find a new home for it, because I'm not crazy about the mohair in general. And then next up, this is a little off the beaten lace weight path. We got some Aunt Lydia's. I have a couple balls of this, and at the time I bought it, I had all of these grand ideas of doing really tiny, delicate lace knitting projects, and maybe even learning like Irish crochet or something. And while I have used quite a bit of this crochet thread, I have not actually used it for any sort of lace projects. I use it a lot for running lifelines and other projects. So it definitely has gone to good use, but this is not one. I don't know if I will ever actually knit with this, because it is a very stiff, sort of itchy cotton. Like, it would be good for doilies, but at the moment I'm not really in a doily mood. So I don't know. I'm definitely keeping this because, like I said, this is my go-to lifeline thread, but it's a little sad that I haven't actually used it for what I originally intended to buy it for. What else do we have in the lace weight department? Okay, let's see. Got a few here, different colors, and this is the Fiber Company Meadow. This is their lace weight yarn they produce, and it's a very like rustic. I don't know if you can see. There are lots of sort of little flecks. Let me look at the fiber makeup of this. I think there's flax in here. Okay, so it is wool, llama, silk, and linen. So it's a little bit of everything, and it definitely, especially in this dark one, you can see like some of the fibers are not dyed as deeply as the other ones, and I imagine that's probably the linen going on here. But I have like a full ball of this nice blue, and then I have quite a few of these little mini balls of this gray and this pink. This meadow yarn was one of the yarns that I use in my octave shawl design, and it's an intarsia piece, and so I had to divide the balls up into like really tiny, these little mini balls, and so like it's very annoying because I have quite a bit of this yarn left, but it's all like skeined up in these tiny balls. So absolutely enough for a project, but it's going to be really annoying weaving in all those ends with these tiny balls. And this I bought originally to use to hold with the mohair that I just showed. And like I said, I tried that mohair experiment. I was like, no, thank you, not for me. And so this has sat in my stash for a couple years at this point. I don't know what I want to do with this. Like, it's not your typical lace weight yarn. Normally when I go for lace weight yarns, I want like slick and shiny. That's going to be really cool for like a nice fancy lace pattern. I don't know exactly how much this would lend itself to lace work, but I might have to give that a try. Definitely, this is another keep, but not entirely sure what I'm going to be doing with it yet. And then let's see, the last thing we have in the lace weight. This was a nice, pleasant surprise. This was down at the very bottom of the box, and I did not even know I had it. This is some Bear Shimmer yarn from Knit Picks. It is a blend of alpaca and silk. And this, if you've watched my episode 1, this is what I knit the Seascape Stole by Karen Foley out of. And I mean, like for lace work, traditionally, you know, this like white or cream look is nice. But honestly, the more I think about this, the more I'm like tempted to maybe try to give it a dye and see if I can get something besides just plain white. But this is another one absolutely keeping. I love this yarn. Don't know what it's going to be used for yet, but it's definitely going back in the stash. And I think that is going to finish up everything for the lace weight section. And that didn't take as long as I thought it would. So hopefully everything else, all the other future sections are going to move at this nice clip as well. So now it's time to move into the fingering weight yarns. And I am going to start things off on a sad note. I don't know if you noticed when I was pulling all the yarns out, I had quite a sizable quantity of Loft from Brooklyn Tweed, which is a woolen spun fingering weight yarn that is no longer produced as of a few months ago. I was very sad to see it go. This is another one that like I fell in love with, and it was cruelly ripped out of my hands. This is an interesting yarn because the first time you use it, or at least the first time I used it, I absolutely hated it. I had no idea what the hell was going on with this. It was like pulling apart in my hands as I was knitting with it. It looks like just like a giant felted noodle when you hold it out. It is spun so thick and thin in places. I was just like, I don't understand, like, why in the world would I ever want to use, why would I want to continue this project, much less use this yarn again? But then once you block it, like most woolen spun yarns, it just turns into a completely different, completely beautiful creature. It softens up, the thick and thin spots even out, and it is just creates such a lightweight garment. If you're only ever like really worked with worsted spun yarns before, I really if you can get your hands on Loft or some other sort of woolen spun yarn, it's just a completely different beast. And at first, it's very scary, very sketchy, very questionable. But once everything is washed and blocked, this yarn is so amazing. I love it so much. I got a sweater's quantity and then some just to be safe. And as I was pulling yarns out of the box yesterday, I noticed that I have a couple partially used skeins of this as well. There were a couple projects in the past that I had done in Loft that I'd forgotten about. So yeah, I've got, like I said, I picked some colors for a sweater, and then I have some like other additional like blacks and some other grays that I'm not sure what to do with yet. I need to figure out exactly how much I've got. But yeah, this is a sad one. Love this yarn. Really wish it was not discontinued, but that's the way it is. So we'll move on now to something a little less sad, but just equally as lovely. And this is called Noti Hand Painted Yarns. I'm not familiar with this brand particularly well. I bought this at a fiber festival a few months ago. And what really drew me to it is that it is 100% llama yarn, which I have never knit with llama yarn before. It feels and looks very similar, I don't know if you can see, to like an alpaca. It's kind of got that like, it's kind of like it has like that fuzzy, smooth, like contradictory feeling that you get with alpaca. It feels very similar, but like I said, I've never specifically used llama before, so I'm excited to give this one a try. I don't have enough for anything probably more than a shawl or something like that, but like I love knitting shawls. That's not a problem. Yeah, I'm excited to give this one a try and see how it knits up and see just how similar to alpaca it is and what the differences are in this one. But yeah, this is a really beautiful blue. Love this yarn. Super, super soft and fuzzy. And now we'll blow through some of these more teeny tiny balls. So I have more little mini balls. This is Malabrigo sock yarn and Malabrigo Machita. They are both fingering weight yarns from Malabrigo. The sock yarn is a multi-ply yarn, obviously, as a sock yarn, and the Machita is a single-ply yarn. And I have used both of these as the background color for samples for my octave shawl. Once again, I mentioned in the lace weight section. These are the second yarns I used in those samples, and like the meadow yarns in the lace weight section, despite the fact that these are in teeny tiny little balls, I have quite a sizable amount left over. I can't really justify putting these in like the odds and ends bag yet or anything like that. But once again, whenever I do want to use these, it's going to be super annoying because like I have like 50 to 100 grams, but split up across like 6 or 7 balls of yarn. So that's going to be annoying, but it's a great yarn. I was a little hesitant to use Malabrigo, especially the single ply yarn. Just single ply yarns in general, I was a little suspicious of. But like I said, I've knit the sample shawl in the Machita probably 2 years ago at this point, and it's not a heavily worn garment or anything like that, but it has held up really well. I was just super afraid that this single ply was just going to fall apart the minute you looked at it wrong, but it's really held up. I really like it, and yeah, it's great. But then the sock, it just makes me feel a little more comfortable because it does have the multiple plies. I'm a little more confident it's going to stay hold up to the test of time as opposed to the Machita. But yeah, it's got some Malabrigo fingering there. And then speaking of single ply yarns, I have another couple that I completely forgot I had here. This cool yellow and sort of like black, sort of gray look here. And this is from Twisted Willow Yarns. And this one I had completely forgotten about. This is from maybe 2022, 2023. I won this at my local yarn store. They always do a big like event and sale on their the anniversary of the day they opened. And so throughout the day they were like doing drawings, and I just happened to win one of the drawings and picked this yarn. I'm not familiar with Twisted Willow. This yarn is 90% merino, 10% linen, and which is kind of crazy. Like normally you think this like a 10% fiber is not going to do much, but if you can really, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but if you get up close, you can really see those like telltale like linen flecks that you get when you're working with the flax yarn. And this is another single ply. I'm pretty sure that's why I haven't done anything with this, because I got it at a time when I was afraid of single ply yarns and afraid they were just going to fall apart in my hands. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this one or not. I don't hate it. It's not a bad yarn, but just like the color scheme, now that I'm okay with the single ply yarns, I've moved on to another thing to complain about with this yarn. I just don't know about the color scheme. It's very sort of like bumblebee looking. I don't know. We'll have to think. It's complete, 2 complete skeins, so it's not bad yarn, but yeah, we'll see. What else do we have for fingering weight now? Okay, here we got another sock yarn. This is Amble from the Fiber Company. I recently tried this for the first time, not for socks, but for my Chosen One shawl, which if you have watched episode 2 of my podcast, I've talked about and why I'm displeased with it. But the yarn itself, I am definitely not displeased with. It is a blend of wool and nylon, and I believe there's some alpaca in here as well. And it's great. It does not feel like a sock yarn. It feels so like soft and delicate. It does not seem like it should be able to hold up to wear and tear. But I mean, with the nylon in it, it's absolutely got to. But it has just really softened up after blocking, and I've enjoyed this. I don't know if I would ever knit socks in this. I'm not really. I've got like a particular like brand of yarn that we're gonna see here in a minute that I love to knit socks in, and I'm really faithful to it. I don't know if I'm ready to switch to another sock brand. But I love this yarn. I've got enough for some left over from my previous project for some sort of like accessory or something. So definitely going to use this. But yeah, this is Amble by the Fiber Company. And then finally, in the fingering weight section, I believe, yes, we've got another one that I love that has been discontinued, and this is Diva's Desire from Police and Harmony, which I don't know. They've got a podcast here on YouTube as well that I love. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but they've got a mill and a yarn shop up in Canada on Prince Edward Island, and this was a 100% wool yarn that they spun. I believe it's discontinued at this point. It's a few years back. But it is made, let me look at the tag so I say this correctly. Oh, it doesn't say. I want to say this is one that they sourced all the wool specifically from Prince Edward Island on. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what's going on with this one. But I love this. It's got a nice, it's been dyed in the wool, so it's got this really cool like heathered effect where you've got some of these reds and pinks, but then also some like grays in the mix as well. And this is another one of those that's kind of like loft where you knit with it and you're like, what is going on with this yarn? It looks terrible. And then you block it and everything just blooms and softens up, and it's so nice. I love this yarn. Wish they were still making it. I got enough, like I said, probably for an accessory or something, but definitely keeping this and definitely going to make something special with it. And I think that's going to wrap up the fingering weight yarns. So let's keep moving forward. So now we're going to take a small moment and pause on the journey through the yarn weights to look at the yarns I have that I have either hand spun myself, or I've also got one that was hand spun by somebody else. And so the first ones I have that were hand spun by me are this brown or orange brown and green skeins that I did on my drop spindle. This is Wool of the Andes roving. I love this roving. It's so easy to use. It creates beautiful yarns. They have a lot of great colors. But yeah, this I have enough. I could probably, if I'm creative with my color work, I probably have enough for like a color work hat or some sort of small accessory. This is another. I have a lot of like collections of yarn that are just enough for like a small project and not much more. But yeah, definitely keeping this. I can't imagine myself throwing away at least good yarn that I've spun. Maybe some of the early stuff, but this stuff is definitely staying in my stash. And then my spin that I'm currently working on for a sweater, and this is also Wool of the Andes, and it is a 3-color marl, and it is just not, I cannot figure out how to get these colors to render realistically on camera. There's no like amount of like lighting tricks or anything that I do, but it's this really beautiful dark red and burnt orange and a dark brown color, and I am currently spinning this for a sweater. I'm about like a year and a half in the process, maybe at this point. It feels like it, maybe it's been a little less, maybe it's closer to a year, but I've been spinning on this for a while, and the end is in sight, but I'm in no hurry to get through it. But yeah, this is another hand spun that I'm absolutely keeping. And then I've got one here that I'm not sure if it was hand spun. It was definitely done in a small mill if it was not hand spun. But this is a blend of, let's see, 50-50 mohair and Lopi wool that I got at a fiber festival a few years ago from AB Farm and Gardens. And I've talked about them on the podcast before. It's a lady who raises Angora goats here in Georgia. And I know that I just talked crap about mohair yarn in the previous section, in the lace weight section. There is just something about her mohair. It's just different. Like I've used her yarns before with mohair in them, and it's just something different about her mohair that doesn't like irritate me, that doesn't make me like overheated in the way that other mohairs do. I don't have a ton of this. This is another one that I just bought a small quantity. And it's a very like thick and thin yarn. So I'm going to have to find the right project. Definitely something that doesn't need a lot of good stitch definition or anything like that. But this is another one. Yeah, I'm absolutely not going to get rid of this. This is definitely special to me. Just have to find the right project for it. And I think that's going to be it for the special hand spun yarns. And we'll get back to the different yarn weights now. So now we've made it to the main event. We've made it to the sport weight yarns, and this is where I definitely have the most yarn, and it's all concentrated in one brand basically. And I have not even bothered to like get it out of bags. And it is all of my Wool of the Andes sport weight yarns. I love these. Basically, every sweater I've ever knit has been made out of these yarns, and I use them for swatching. I use them for my sock knitting, and yeah, I was a little disappointed when I was organizing and pulling out all of the balls of yarn I had, that there are so many partially used balls of yarn that I have in there, like that are unnecessarily partially used, like multiple, two, three, four of partially used balls in a single color. So once again, that's going to be another thing. I've got plenty of yarn here, but it's going to be real annoying when it comes time to like have to weave in all those ends, because I have a million different like half skeins of yarn that I've used. But I tried to break it up into a little bit of color organization. This is my like neutrals and earth tones and yellows bag. And then we've got the blue bag, which I cannot believe. I would say that green is probably more my favorite color than blue, but blue is definitely the most well represented color I have in the Wool of the Andes sport weight. And then we got this bag for like the greens and the purples and the pinks and reds, which not a lot left on those. But yeah, so that's the sport weight yarn. I will never, no, I'm not going to toss this yarn, and I will probably never end up knitting my way all the way through it because it keeps getting replenished. I don't buy a lot of this yarn like at one time, but like I will add colors pretty frequently. And in the same vein, I also have a decent collection of high desert sport weight yarn, also from Knit Picks. This is basically like Wool of the Andes, but it's a little bit nicer spun. It's a little bit tighter spun, so I don't notice as much like pilling or fuzzing with this. But yeah, this is another great one. My collection is not as big, but I think I like this one more, even though it is a little bit more expensive. It's just like it's nicer spun than the Wool of the Andes is. But both of them, yeah, love these both. Use them all the time. And yeah, I think that's going to do it for the sport weight yarns. Now we are in the DK-ish range. Like, don't quote me on any of these yarn weights. Like, I've done my best, but not all of these have their original ball bands left over. So I've just been kind of eyeballing some of these. And the first one I've got in this range is another fiber company. This is Aramore Light, which is a blend of, it's a blend of several things. Let me see if I can find the list. 80% wool, 10% silk, 10% cashmere. And normally, like, I see 10% cashmere and I would scoff at it because that's clearly just like a marketing thing. Like, you're not going to feel 10% cashmere, are you? But honestly, you do. Like, it doesn't feel like 100% cashmere because it's not 100% cashmere. But you can absolutely, it does not feel just like your run-of-the-mill standard British wool or anything like that. It definitely feels a little bit nicer, a little bit slicker than a traditional wool. And I bought this on sale at a local yarn store a few months back. I've got like 4 or 5 skeins of it. Maybe not enough for an entire sweater, but I've been thinking about doing a vest in this. I currently have a project that is on the needles that's in this yarn, but at this point I don't think I'm going to finish it, so I'm probably going to frog it back, and I might, yeah, see if I could make a vest out of this. I've never done a vest, but that's kind of been on my mind for a while now, so thinking about that. And then we're going to move on to, let's see, Barocco Modern Cotton DK. And I have several of these and I don't like them. I keep buying them. They show up in like the bargain bin a lot, and so I can't resist a deal. But I don't know why I keep buying these. It's not the nicest cotton out there. Last year, or maybe the year before, I was going to do a shawl knit along. And I got about halfway through it with this cotton, and it looks fine, but I don't like the way it feels. I don't think I would ever like wear a garment made out of this stuff. And I can't figure out what else I would use it for then, though. So this is one that's probably, I'm probably gonna make some room in my stash by getting rid of this stuff. I'm just not crazy about it, despite the fact that I have multiple skeins of it. I've bought multiple skeins of it. even though it's not my favorite. And speaking of not my favorite and Barocco, I've also got some vintage DK, which is a blend of wool and acrylic. And while it is not my favorite yarn either, I'm definitely keeping this around. It's great for gift knitting for people because a lot of times non-knitters, they've never, it's nice to be able to like give them something that has a substantial amount of wool in it because a lot of people don't have a lot of experience with wool garments and things like that or accessories. But at the same time, like most people who aren't knitters, even if they're knit worthy, even if they're worthy of like giving them a handmade gift, like most of them are not going to be bothered to like wash and take care of the fibers as they should be. So I like the vintage DK because it gives them the wool experience, but it's still something that you're able to throw in the washing machine and not have to worry about it felting or anything like that. So yeah, it's a great gift knitting yarn, but I really don't use it a ton beyond that. Although I did knit myself a Musselburgh hat earlier this year out of some of my vintage DK as well. But yeah, it's unlike the cotton. I'll keep it around, but it's not gonna outside of like Christmas gifts and that stuff like that. It really doesn't see a ton of use. And what else do we have over here? Oh, this one I really went back and forth. I can't decide if this is enough yarn to constitute an actual project or if this should go in my odds and ends bag as well. This is Blueface Leicester yarn from West Yorkshire Spinners, and I love this stuff. Blueface Leicester it's a really weird breed of sheep in that this does not feel like wool yarn. It feels way too like slick and cool to the touch for it to register as like wool in my mind. So yeah, it's a very interesting breed. I think it has something to do with the fact that like the staple length is longer than most sheep breeds, which helps give it that soft, smooth feel. But yeah, like I said, I love this yarn. Definitely not throwing it away, but it's just right on the edge. I made a pair of socks out of these two colors about a year and a half ago. And it's just right on the edge of like enough yarn for another project or time to go in the scrap bag. So we'll have to see. It's sticking around, but I don't know exactly where this one's going to go yet. And I think that's going to wrap up the DK weight yarns. And let's just keep pressing on. I have been talking for so long, but the end is in sight at this point. I just got to keep going. So let's press on together. So now we have made it to another special section that I'm feeling weirdly nostalgic about because this type of yarn is yarn that more and more frequently is not represented in my stash. And that is yarns from big box craft stores that I bought really early in my knitting life. And so I thought I'd take a look at some of them. And first up we have a couple plant-based yarns. The green and gray, I think is from Michaels, and I want to say I got this from Hobby Lobby. And it is, I think they're billed differently. I think one is billed as rayon and one's billed as tinsel. It's the same difference. It's all plant-based. But this was my first experience with a plant-based yarn that I really enjoyed using because unlike cotton, it feels great. It is cool to the touch and it is so shiny and smooth that it's just it's a very alluring yarn. Now that being said, it's kind of a pain to knit up, and I'm not crazy about the finished results once you knit it up. But just like it's like, especially being a Southerner, it's just crazy like to think about yarn that is cool to the touch. So this was very alluring to me. There's nothing particularly wrong with it, but I probably will end up getting rid of this because, like I said, while I love squishing it, love touching it, it is. I'm just not thrilled with the way it feels and drapes and looks as a finished project or product. And so that being said, there's one big box yarn that I do love as a finished product, and that is Lion Brand Fisherman's Wool. I have knit quite a few things out of this. The very first sweater I ever knit was out of Lion Brand Fisherman Wool, and I still have the thing. It is absolutely terrible. It was knit flat. It's a set-in sleeve. I didn't know how to set in sleeves. I couldn't be bothered to learn how to set in sleeves, so I look like a football player from the 80s because those shoulders are just like so pointy and so sticking out because I seamed it terribly. But I love this yarn so much, and in fact I was surprised to see that I had actually done some dyeing experiments with fisherman's wool in the past, and This is the one and only time I've ever dyed something, and there are a couple questionable things I did. The main one being that this has no like figure 8 ties. The ends are not tied together, so it's real like this is gonna be real annoying to untangle if it tangles up. But I cannot believe I managed to do this with fisherman's wool and RIT dye. I just like tied it, skeins it up really tight, and just dunked it in the water so that the outer layers would have time to absorb more dye than the inner layers, and you get this really nice, just sort of like tonal, variegated purple look. So I definitely want to try this again. I know there are like better dyes out there than just RIT or whatever, but like I said, I'm really shocked that it worked as well as it did. So I might be giving good old RIT a try again. Who knows? But yeah, this is another one. I love this. Love fisherman's wool. I don't knit with it a lot anymore. I mostly keep it around just to like if I need to like darn or fix things that I've knit with it in the past. But I might have to come up with a new project for this at some point. And sort of in a similar vein, I also have a decent amount of Patton's worsted wool. This was one of the first 100% wools I ever worked with. So I'm grateful to it for that, but once again, like if I'm not swatching, I'm really not ever using this for anything. So I'm not going to toss it, but it's not ever going to end up in anything besides a swatch usually, though. So that is my big box store wools. And we'll keep moving. We're almost to the end. I definitely have a lot more thinner weight yarns than heavyweight yarns, so we're getting close to the end now. Okay, now we are down to the last 2 yarns. This is it. So the first one I've got is Wool of the Andes worsted weight, which is not particularly exciting because you've already seen my giant stash of Wool of the Andes swort weight. The first decent sweater I ever knit, the first sweater that I was not ashamed to wear out of the house, I knit out of this yarn. It's great. I would say, I don't know, maybe I'm just imagining things, but it feels like it might be like looser spun than the sport weight is. I find that both of them kind of pill, but this one pills a little bit more than the sport weight does. And the only thing visually I can see is that maybe it's spun a little bit looser than the sport weight is. But I still love this yarn. I have a big chunk of green, enough to probably knit several accessories. Probably not another sweater, but I don't know. I might have to buy some more of the worsted weight as well in some different colors. I don't know. I'm not feeling an all green project right now, but we'll have to see. But anyways, got a decent chunk of the worsted weight as well. And then finally, I know this is the one that you've been waiting for, that everyone loves the most, and that is Bernat blanket yarn. Let's take it in its full glory. Look at that lovely chenille, high quality chenille. Have you ever seen a yarn that looked this nice? Because I sure haven't. I've knit several blankets out of this yarn. And while I love it, it is obviously, it's kind of an interesting beast. It's definitely an acquired taste. But I love, like I said, I can't say anything bad about it because the 2 blankets that I've knit out of it, I use almost every single day, unless it is just burning hot outside. I am under those blankets at some point every single day. But that being said, I have like a couple balls in this color and a few partially used balls in a few other colors, and I'm almost certainly going to be getting rid of these because they just take up so much space relative to the amount that I use them that I desperately need some space, and unfortunately I think that the Bernat is just going to have to go to make up that space. Nothing personal, but it's time to say goodbye to the blanket yarn. And I think it is also time to say goodbye in general for this video. If you made it this far, you're a crazy person, but thank you for sticking around and listening to me ramble about all of these yarns. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and give the video a like and subscribe if you like what you see, because I post videos like this about once a week now. And once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!